Putin is having a meeting with Trump in Alaska next Friday, I believe the 15th. This is what I think you need to know. A lot of people don't understand the dynamics and everything involved in the meeting, and it seems very confusing to a lot of people. So I'm going to try to break it down.
Rule number one. I'ma bring this bitch right back.
Ukraine, right? Ukraine. We're going to put UA here for them. This right here is Russia. We're going to put Russia here. And in the middle is going to be the US, the big and mighty US, United States, right? So in this meeting, what's going to be important is what each side wants, okay? What does Ukraine want? Defend their territory and their sovereignty, right? Their freedom to choose to proceed how they want to proceed, right? And to be seen as a country, right? And not as whoever's vassal or something. What does Russia want? That's a bit more tricky because everybody has their own theories. A lot of people believe Russia wants to rebuild the Soviet Union. A lot of people think they want the Donbass and Donetsk regions. A lot of people think they want the entire Ukraine. Each of these has their explanation, but I think right now, what is more true, you could estimate, is that they want the entire Ukraine and not just the Donbass and those eastern regions. Why? You don't lose 1,000,000 troops plus for the Donbass. This is not a sacrifice you make for that kind of territory. It doesn't make any sense at all. You don't take this war to this extent just for those little pieces of territory. It doesn't make any sense. And is Russia trying to rebuild the Soviet Union? Maybe. But it's too early to call. The people that are calling this, they themselves don't have enough evidence. Right? It's too early. Is Russia going to take on NATO? How? How are they going to do that? No, they can't really answer that question. So we're here. So Russia wants the entirety of Ukraine. Why? I guess Putin feels like Ukraine should be under Russian influence and not under Western European influence. And that's what he wants. That's what he's pushing for. And he believes that that's more important than a lot of things right now. What does the U.S. want? Well, when I say the U.S., I have to say the Trump administration, what do they want? They want to stop the killing. They want to stop the killing. No killing. What is the issue here? What is the issue here? The U.S. wants to mediate like a ceasefire or maybe a peace treaty, ultimately, between the two countries. What's the issue here? The issue is the U.S. is not neutral, right? The U.S. is not neutral. The U.S. is actively giving arms and funding Ukraine, right? So Russia sees the U.S. as an adversary, right? Like, so it's not the U.S. trying to mediate. It's the U.S. is operating as Ukraine's ambassador. So these two sides should be the same, right? According to Russia, right? These two sides are operating together. Now, what does Ukraine think about the US? Officially, the Ukraine, they're gonna say, oh, the US is our best allies. They did this and that for us. But with the Trump admin coming in, Ukraine doesn't know. Ukraine is in a state of confusion about the US. USA, they want to stop the war. But the Trump is using coercion on Ukraine. I believe there's tariffs on Ukraine, right? Tariffs on Ukraine. They have a lot of anti-Ukraine people in the Trump administration. You have Tulsi Gabbard. You have J.D. Vance. You have people that don't really they don't really like Ukraine's cause, or they don't feel like they want anything to do with it, right? At minimum. So Ukraine is looking at like they're kind of confusion here. So see, you have a huge issue here. There's a huge problem. The US did not position itself properly to be a mediator for this war. They're positioned to be an ambassador for Ukraine, but also they confuse the hell out of the Ukrainians. Trump is calling Zelensky a dictator. He's like, oh, you should have an election. He's lying about things happening in Ukraine. But all of a sudden, he seems like he turned a new leaf. He turned against Russia, where he's like, oh, Russia's killing too many people. Putin doesn't stop, whatever. But Ukraine is still confused. Like, what? Like, where did this guy even stand? It's just very unclear what's happening right now. So the issue for Ukraine is, can they trust the United States to negotiate on their behalf? And the answer to that is going to be no, they cannot. And can Russia trust the United States to be a neutral, like, arbitrator to try to mediate this and get everything to work? No, they cannot. There we go. No. So Trump here has a huge issue because it seems like maybe no one in his administration really thought this through. They have their special envoy. What's his name? Steve Witkoff. Witkoff. I believe that's how you spell his name, right? 2 F's. This guy is top 10 dumbest people in the United States. Top 10 dumbest people in the United States, Steve Witkoff. The guy he doesn't understand anything about the region. They also sent him to the Middle East. He doesn't know anything. Like, this guy doesn't know anything. He's just learning as he's going, and it's just not going well. He's not. He does not think you take a crash course in like 6 months. It's just not. So there's a huge issue here for the U.S. Huge issue. So who could have alleviated this issue? All right, I gotta draw here because this is getting kind of ridiculous. I hope you guys like my drawings. All right, don't make fun of me. You know, I'm not an artist. I'm an explainer or whatever. This is Europe here. What is the problem with Europe? They're supposed to be the ones at the place of the US right now as Ukraine's ambassador. Europe is more trustworthy to the Ukrainians than the United States. It was supposed to be the leaders of Europe, maybe Macron especially, because right now he has probably the most powerful country in Europe right now is France. France, they're basically the leaders of Europe right now. Macron should have been the one to talk to Putin, not Trump. Because it's going to be very hard for Trump to get alignment on both sides, right? But at least Macron would have been able to get alignment with the Ukrainians. And from there, he can maneuver with Russia. But right now, I don't think Trump is aligned to any of these people. He's not aligned to Russia. He's not aligned to Ukraine fully because everyone is confused about what the hell is happening inside the Trump administration, right? But here's the issue with Europe. Europe is weak. They don't have any balls. They can't get themselves together to do something, right? They're very these are very risk adverse people right now. Like they don't, you're not taking big risks and stuff like that. These are people and this was properly diagnosed by Putin, and that's why he started this war this boldly. He thinks Europe is weak, and he's right. Right? These guys are not going to respond, and they didn't. These guys are not they're not going to do anything. The fact that the Europe uniting and sending that amount of aid to Ukraine. If we remember at the start of the war, nobody expected that. They're like, "Wow, look how Europe came together and supported Ukraine." That wasn't even supposed to happen. No one thought that could have happened that way. And they all sanctioned Russia together, etc. So Europe, at least they tried. They kind of tried, right? We got to give that to them, right? They kind of tried. Right? I can't spell. They kind of tried, right? But they still don't have they're still too risk adverse to really push the edge. So, and Russia just knows that. And that's why they're just very confident to keep this war going. And Trump causing confusion with the Ukrainians also works in Russia's favor. Why do I say? Let's go back to Europe for a second. Why do I say Europe is weak? I don't believe Europe has any principle that they stand on. Is there a universal European principle or Western European principle, we could say, where we feel like they will die for? Aside from dying for their prospective countries alone, what European principle would an average European want to die for? I'm not sure. So the thing, they have no principle that they want to die for. They say they like democracy in Ukraine and they like freedom and they want Ukraine to have freedom and they don't want Russia to take over, and that's cool, but they're not willing to die for it though. And Putin knows that. That's why Putin always threatens the nuclear option, right? They're like, "Oh, you better be careful. I'm going to use my nukes." He's done that from day one of the war. He's been doing it for 3 years straight. "Oh, you better watch out. I'm going to use my nukes. I'm going to use my nukes. You better watch out. You better watch out." It's to scare Europe and there's a portion of the United States population that's very, they get very afraid when Putin starts talking like that for some reason. I don't know why, but whatever. Europe is very afraid. they're like, well, if we proceed, if we try to put troops on the ground in Ukraine, they're gonna, Putin might just use his nukes, and that's the thing about life. Here's what Putin figured out, right? He figured out the coercion game. This is the thing about life. Whenever you have a system that's around long enough, somebody's going to figure out how to use it to their advantage or how to exploit that system, right? So we've had nuclear weapons for a long time now, right? Putin figured out that these nuclear weapons can be used as offensive political tools without ever having to touch them, right? Hey, I'm going to take this action, and if you interfere with this action, I'm going to use my nuclear weapons. And what does Europe do? Oh, they start second guessing. Oh, this guy Putin, he's always trying. The thing is, if you don't have a principle that you're willing to die for, then you have nothing. Everyone's just gonna bulldoze you, right? What makes you a man? What makes you a man is having principles and being willing to die for them, right? If not, everyone can just walk over you. You're not willing to take it to the furthest extent. So who cares? Nobody's scared of you. You're not a man. You're not willing to take it there, right? And this is what Putin properly diagnosed about Europe. They're scared. They're scared. They're not there. Like they won't like you can see it. And like they're having meetings after meetings and we have to do this and that. None of them were like, all right, Russia. None of them said, all right, Russia, we don't want war in Europe. This is our stance. This is what we're standing on, and we're going to die for it. We don't want war in Europe, and we're willing to die over that. If that was their stance, and they're real about that life, we would have never had this war. This war would have never started. You see? This is the... We don't want any war in Europe, and we're willing to die for it. What was Putin going to do? He was going to do what? He was going to do what? Nothing. He's going to be like, man, these guys are no joke. These guys are for real. But no, he properly diagnosed, these guys are not for real. These guys are pussies. And I'm going to do what it is I want to do. Right? I don't want Ukraine to be influenced by you guys, so I'm going to take it away. And what are you going to do about it? So, European weakness left us with the Trump administration. Maybe I should have brought this arrow here. European weakness went down here and brought us. This drawing is getting insane, okay? But just bear with me here. European weakness went down and brought us this Trump administration. This Trump administration that is confusing absolutely everybody. Nobody knows where they stand. Nobody knows what's happening. Ukraine is confused. And also, oh wait, I forgot about this part. The U.S. is not even aligned with U.S. I'm not saying not aligned. The U.S. doesn't even understand what both sides want in the war. Trump and his administration want to stop the killing. Stop the killing? Brother, this is why he got into huge fights with Zelensky at the beginning. He doesn't understand that these guys are defending their territory, they're defending their autonomy. They don't care about dying. They don't care about dying. There are things more important than preserving your life, and that's dying for these things. This is something every American should understand. And the U.S. wants no killing with Russia, buddy. This is a war of, this is conquest. What do you mean? No killing. I'm getting the land back that I'm owed. I'm taking back what I was owed. What do you mean no killing? It would read, oh, stop dying, stop killing, stop dying. This is mine. Putin doesn't even recognize Ukraine as a sovereign place. This is just something coming back to the motherland, a piece of land that escaped, a piece of land that got away. This is why Putin won't meet face to face with Zelensky. To him, Zelensky is an illegitimate leader. You're not the leader of Ukraine. I am. So why? What do you mean you're the leader of Ukraine? That's me. But the U.S. doesn't. They don't understand. They don't understand either. You have this guy. You got this guy here, Witkov. He thinks Russia wanted the Donbass and Russian speakers. He thinks Russia is losing 1 million soldiers because they wanted to defend like a couple thousand Russian speakers in the Donbass. You think that was worth losing 1 million troops for? For like a relatively handful of people? And the Donbass region, they wanted the Donbass region. You think people are making this kind of sacrifice for the Donbass? There's nothing in the Donbass. What are they gonna gain from this? No, they want they want the whole thing, Mr. Witkov. Mr. Witkov. They want the whole thing, Mr. Witkov. What is wrong with you? This is not New York real estate, buddy. You're not dealing with real estate agents. You're dealing with empire, buddy. Empire, geopolitics. What is wrong with this guy? Witkov. Top 10 dumbest people in the United States. So let me get a fresh set of whatever here. What else? I gotta zoom in now. So, what do I think is going to happen in this meeting? Alaska, baby, it's cold, baby. Alaska. This is gonna be Mr. Trump, Big T. Big T. There's never been a bigger T. And then Big P. Mr. Vladimir. And what's going to happen here? What is Vladimir's goal? Vladimir's goal here. What is he trying to get across here? What is his goal in this meeting? Mr. Vladimir Putin. Never mind. Here's Putin's goal. Weaken. Okay. I'll start with what he can try to do immediately and then get to his more maybe long-term goals, right? What does he want to do? Stall. And if he can't do that, what is he gonna do? Okay, okay, we can cease fire. Oh, but while the ceasefire, while everything is coming into place, oh, Ukraine started shooting and then the war started again. Ukraine started shooting and then the war started again. This is also just a stalling technique. And let's say, and if Trump gives him the opportunity, you know what he's going to try to do? He's going to agree to, let's say he agrees to a peace deal. What kind of peace deal would he agree to, right? He would agree to a deal where that either puts Ukraine in an extremely bad position, either physically or politically, either militarily or physically. Oh wait, dude, what the fuck? I'm tripping. I said militarily and physically. I'm tripping right now. How do all right, let me get this straight. No, it's erasing the dark. That's not good. All right, there it is. All right, let's start over. What does Putin want to do, right? He wants to put Ukraine in a bad position, either militarily or politically. Whatever. How the hell? However you spell politically. If there is to be a peace deal, that's what he wants. All right. What does Trump want? He wants the ceasefire. He wants to stop the killing. Ceasefire. Stop the killing. Stop the killing. He wants to stop the killing. Remember what I talked about before. The killing is just a symptom. It's not the problem. Trump, he doesn't understand. He can't get to the root of the issues. His whole thing is stopping the killing, and he's willing to compromise on the core issues on behalf of Ukraine to stop the killing. It's just not going to work. Trump might agree to something with Putin, but then the Ukrainians disagree. Which is very likely that this is going to happen. Right? Now, we don't want to be doom and gloom. How could Trump fix this? Trump could have went to the Zelensky administration, Big Z, and asked them, what are you guys willing to compromise? And what aren't you willing to compromise? No comp. And from there, he can work. He can work on those issues with Putin. And maybe something great comes from this. But it's not. Because why? Putin doesn't really feel threatened. Like, what is Trump holding over him? Tariffs? He's going to tariff India again? Like, it's already at 25% tariffs. Like, what? Like, was he going to tariff China? He's already in a little tariff war with China. These tariffs are not that, like, they're just not that much of a threat to him, honestly. He could keep this going. So I don't think the meeting in Alaska is just going to be very productive. Why? I think Putin feels like he still has more juice in him. He feels like the Russian military can still go. They're still gaining territory on the battlefield. They still have more juice. They can keep pushing. They're not at a position where they feel like they're getting close, but they're not at the position where they feel like they've punched themselves out and they can't proceed anymore. They think, hey, within maybe the few months or next year, they can keep going. They probably can't keep going for 2 years like this, but they can keep going some more. That's why Putin has been using the stalling tactics. Everything is stalling, pretending like they're doing negotiations and then they're not really doing anything. It's just stalling tactics. But when he realized Trump was getting a little bit more forceful, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want the force. So anytime Trump gets a little bit more forceful, he'll oblige and then just stall. Because Trump has was it shiny rings, whatever syndrome, whatever the hell. Trump would just go tariff somebody and have a tariff war with somebody for a couple of months and then try to come back to the issue. That's just, I don't know. The guy is just, he's fighting 10 million battles. I don't know. Like he's on Twitter talking about Sydney Sweeney and her jeans and the guy's just like, it's like, brother, don't you have like a couple wars to stop? Like this is and you say like there's Gaza, there's Ukraine, these are things that require like people's full attention. He's just like, nah, he's rebuilding the White House and all that. It's like, bro, Putin, yeah, just keep stalling. There's no reason to to take this as serious. Just Putin's just gonna act like he's really here in good faith. He's gonna give this a good faith attempt, and then it's just all bullshit. He's just really just stalling. So the war machine can proceed, and then when Trump gets back from his ADHD, from his ADHD adventures, he's gonna come back and try to force Putin again. And what is Putin gonna do? He's gonna be like, "Oh my God, all right, listen, we're really serious this time, and then we're gonna go stall." Is there a way out of this? Yes. But nobody wants to hear it. If you want to get out of this war this year, Europe needs to grow some balls and put a line in the sand. We need a total ceasefire. Ceasefire. On this date, or we're joining the war. And they have to really mean it. It has to be really serious. And you might have to actually join it. And then, once Putin feels like he has two options, either to agree to a ceasefire or to die, he's going to say, okay, I think this has reached the point where we've lost. Or you can just let us stall, let this drag out, and then wait until one side breaks. Either you can wait until one side breaks. Either Ukraine is going to break or Russia is going to break. And then we just play that game. And then just hope. And we're just gambling now, and we're just hoping one side breaks before the other. And then you can just gamble that way. That being said, I hope you appreciated my amazing drawings. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my 10 p.m. rant. I have a glass of wine, and I decided, let me just pull out this digital pen that I never used and I don't know, try to make a video or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you subscribe, maybe you can watch my drawing journey. You can watch me get better at drawing. Maybe when you come back for our next video, I can learn how to draw a straight line, finally. That's good, right? This is a good arrow. I fucked it up.
I've been pondering a circle part in my hair, like Thurman Thomas. Warmer climate, Hall of Fame rhymer. Told her come downstairs as you walk. I sent my driver, bring you to a suite.